what else can you tell us about the Growing Health Communities podcast? Like, what was the impetus for it?
I believe it was Sharice who was like, what about a podcast? And I was like,
Nice.
well, that sounds awesome.
DMH Way presents. Chat GCG, a DMH Way podcast. All right, so welcome to Chat GCG, genuine conversations on growth, contributions, and goals at Chat GCG. Our goal is to expose you to authentically intelligent heroes of DMH employment. I'm Daishan Knox, supervisory specialist with the DMH Way.
I'm Rod Cowan. I am facilitator for DMH Way.
All right, and we are back with episode 6, and today we will be interviewing a fellow DMH podcaster, Amber Stockreef, and your title is
Interdivisional Children's Services Coordinator. I know it's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's
I picked it 8 years ago, and now I regret it every day. Such a long name.
It's okay. It's all right. We'll work with it. So, Amber, before we dive deep into our questions, we like to give you a chance to warm up, stretch before you run.
Yeah.
So we have something that we call the chit chat. And these are 4 softball questions to get you ready for the harder questions. So these 4 questions are: where do you work? What do you do? How long have you been with DMH? And what would you say is your guilty pleasure drink of choice?
Okay. So where do I work? That's pretty easy. Department of Mental Health. And I work at the Children's Office. What do I do there? So I oversee supports and services for children who have both developmental disabilities and behavioral health needs. So I like to say, I support projects and initiatives for DMH children. Let's see. I've worked for DMH now 12 years and 9 days because my anniversary was April 1st, which I still find funny. It was April Fool's Day, so I'm still waiting for that. Ha, just kidding. You're not really employed here.
You really don't have a job.
You really, we've been paying you for 12 years, but just kidding. But what would I say my guilty pleasure? Probably Dr. Pepper. It's my go-to when I do drink soda. That's what I go to.
Okay.
Quick follow-up. Have you tried the blackberry Dr. Pepper?
I did just recently.
And?
It's pretty good.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, it's either going to be really bad or really good.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
Good deal. Well, now that you're warmed up, you got those first couple questions in, I'm going to pass you off to Rod, and Rod is going to get you going on our first question.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So thinking about your career at DMH, okay, what has been your biggest point of growth?
So I like to say that I've grown from day one to now, but probably biggest point of growth has been in the last couple years. And that's mostly because not just professionally have I grown, but personally. So I feel more confident being able in my abilities, because previously it was always like, yeah, I did that, but I got lucky. It was kind of always my mindset. And now I'm like, no, I actually have put a lot of work into being who I am today. And that's just been in the last couple of years. And I would probably say DMH Leadership Academy really brought that out of me. So
yeah,
nice.
That was a pretty awesome time.
Okay.
Yeah. So thinking about, you're talking about personal and professional growth. So it makes me think of CAP, clarity, alignment, and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So how has having some of that clarity, alignment, and purpose fostered some of that growth?
So some of that has been, so I always knew kind of the alignment of my personal values with DMH's values. So empathy, safety, those main things, and accountability. But my purpose has kind of changed over the years. And I like to say that my purpose has become more refined because I was one of the first Missouri Way classes.
Nice.
So I was one of those people that my purpose was, change the world. That was my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just like, okay, so my purpose is now to support individuals where they are, be it my own staff, be it my personal self, be it our individuals we serve. So my purpose is refined to, we're going to change individuals, but on their timeline, not mine. So that's helped kind of align my values and my purpose and provided me at least a little more clarity, and instead of looking at that big picture that may never be attained.
And that's really neat, because I was just thinking about, what's the next area you're looking to grow in, and that's it. You're refining everything.
Yeah, refining. It's always a refinement. I love hearing Dr. Karen Harvey speak on trauma, because she always says, I wrote a lot of bad behavior plans. And she can say that. And I think of the same thing. Like, I probably gave some really bad advice, way back when I first started. Or, that probably wasn't the best decision. But that's part of growing and part of, I think, becoming a leader and moving forward is just recognizing that, you're going to have ups and downs, but that's part of growing and moving forward.
Yeah, and that's really cool. That's one of our DMH core value, transparency. You're role modeling that, right? I mean, transparent, putting it out there.
I'm always fully transparent. Ask me anything.
Nice.
Well, almost anything that's work
appropriate.
appropriate.
There we go. We always have to throw that HR appropriate.
HR appropriate, yes.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. Cool. All right. So, Amber, when we think about our second question and line of questioning, where we want to talk about your contributions to DMH. And so there's a few exciting things that I want to mention about this episode before I dive into the contribution question. So first, little peek behind the curtain. This episode is actually being recorded out of sequence. So we haven't recorded episode 5 yet. So we're getting ahead of the game, but it's okay because we work with everybody's schedule. But the second thing is I'm considering this our first crossover episode. So I don't know how many people are like fans of Shonda Land, Shonda Rhimes. She's the Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder. What's the other one with Kerry Washington? Oh, boy.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
That's
I gotta
a shame.
remember movies or TV shows.
Doggone it. Whatever it is.
It was a good one.
No
I think it won an Emmy somewhere.
Yes. But those shows, they sometimes will have the episodes where it's like, the Grey's Anatomy people would come into How to Get Away with Murder and vice versa. So we are joining you as you are the creator, right, of the Growing Healthy Communities podcast?
Co-creator. I would say it's the children's office team has really been part of that whole development and just talking it forward. But definitely kind of a push. But we've had Sharice Baker, who's done a few episodes. We've had Melody Bowling, who's hosted a few episodes. So I need to get JJ Gossero's got a couple that should be coming out here soon. So, I mean, it's a team effort moving forward. So I don't want to take full credit for it because a lot of this really was a team decision, and moving forward is like, how do we get this information to parents?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you said, how do we get this information to parents? Yes. What else can you tell us about the Growing Healthy Communities podcast? Like, what was the impetus for it? Are there any episodes you recommend we check out?
Yeah, so Growing Healthy Communities really came from us talking with families, specifically family support providers, which are peer support for the family side, basically saying, what would you have liked to hear? And we're like, how do we get this information out? We could do an infographic. We could put it on our webpage. And then somebody was, I believe it was Sharice, who was like, what about a podcast? And I was like, well, that sounds awesome. How would we do a podcast? And everybody listens to podcasts. And sure enough, everybody was like, yeah, I have this one I listened to about this topic and this topic. So eventually we were just like, okay, so let's put it out there to our family support providers and other community members. What would you have liked to hear if you were a parent who has a child or you're a community member who's supporting a youth? What information would you like to know? So that's the best part about our podcast is it's generated by the community for the community. I would say each episode, listen to all of them. We have 8, so we're still growing. So you still have time to listen to them all.
Nice.
And each one's unique. I mean, the one that plays the most, though, or we have the most plays with, is my child has a diagnosis. Now what do I do? Because that's probably the biggest thing that happens with most families is, my child gets this diagnosis. And of course, there's guilt, and be a developmental disability, mental health, or substance use, there's always that, now what do I do next?
Right. Yeah.
So we actually have a peer support who talks about her journey of supporting her daughter through that. And her daughter's now a grown adult and doing well and has become, I believe, a peer mentor herself for children or young adults in college. So it's just great to hear that and hear that resiliency. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
We do have currently, I think, 1,328 plays is what I saw.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So hopefully, like, we'll spread that good luck over here. And you guys can get 7,000 plays to have everybody at DMH listen.
Well, shoot, that's more than 100 plays per episode.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Okay, so the third thing before I dive into the contribution question. So you work for DMH Children's Office, and to me, that in and of itself is, in my brain, it's a crossover. I know you probably understand it better than me, but I'm like, we got DMH, we got DMH Children's Office, there is Children's Division. So how do those things kind of overlap, crossover, coincide with each other?
Yeah. So the best way to describe DMH's Children's Office, many people working for the department may not know this, but we are an adult system. So developmental disabilities is an adult system, behavioral health, an adult system. So the Children's Office really is children's staff whose main focus is children. So other departments, you may have adult and children mix. Our staff, that's all they think about all day long is children, 0 to we actually do transitional age use, so up to 25, so those young adults. So we really look at that perspective of development. What does that mean? How does that impact individuals? Services for children over the years have been very much adult started and then tailored to children. We're trying to kind of move that in the other direction of let's look at the child first. How do we change that? How do we get some services in place for children and families? And we're seeing some of that now with 988. We have a policy group that just came back from New Orleans where we're talking about, how to meet families where they are.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And how does a crisis look different for a family versus an individual who may be an adult? So really, the Children's Office plays a unique role in DMH because we really specialize on a specific population. Now, how we cross over with our Children's Division and other child-serving entities is basically we all, again, focus on children, maybe sometimes the same population, especially if they're in Children's Division custody, that a lot of trauma from being part of that foster care system. But their main focus is being a custodial parent. So I like to think of Children's Division as our customer and we're the provider.
Yeah.
So when they come to us and they're asking for help, they're like, it's because I look at them the same way I would a parent, as they don't know how to navigate our system. And we have a very complex system to navigate.
Yeah.
So it's really trying to help forge those alliances and really help that dual population where they're across multiple departments and divisions.
Nice. Okay, so now we're at the question. I just had to really wrap my brain around it some. So when you think about your tenure with DMH, which you've been with DMH how long?
12 years.
12 years. Congrats. I'm coming up on 11, so I'm right behind you.
Yeah.
What would you say is your proudest contribution to DMH?
Probably our dual diagnosis initiatives is probably my proudest contribution, mostly because when I came into this position 8 years ago, there were sides of DD and behavioral health who didn't even know each other. And now they sit in meetings together and talk and have collaborative ideas. We're now seeing applied behavior analysis being included on the behavioral health side to start being distributed. So we're seeing that cross, whereas 8 years prior, nobody knew what each side was and what each side did. And a lot of that, I feel, that's my proudest contribution because my position was unique as I am the first dual funded position.
Nice.
So I'm funded by both DD and behavioral health.
Okay.
At least my salaries. So I was supervised by both sides. So I got to talk about we're similar but different. And that has since just evolved into many different aspects of working with the Behavioral Health Council, who's then working with Starling on the DD side, and really seeing those collaborations and seeing providers who may be in the same town but never knew they existed.
Yeah.
And being able to help a population who doesn't have just one single need but has multiple needs. So that's been a huge and probably the proudest contribution I've had. I've done other things, like I remember creating the first DMH dashboard before we had Tableau in an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
I'm so glad that's now transitioned to somebody else who can do Tableau and make that so much easier, because that was fun, let me tell you, trying to figure out how to do a dashboard in Excel.
Yes.
But I'd say my proudest would be moving the Missouri Alliance for Dual Diagnosis and the behavioral health and IDD population forward. And we're seeing more and more as we go through, and just more funding, more recognition that this is a tough population to work with.
Yeah. So you kind of single-handedly united DD and DBH. It was like the socias and the greasers. It was fun because like they would have me on the behavioral health side. I was where my first office was, and you would see me walking down the hall all the time. Yeah. Because I would be like, all right, Connie, I gotta go talk to, Julia real quick. And Julia's office at the time was way on the far end of DD. So she was at the very end of the hall. So it was like, walk to one side and then have to turn around and walk back to Connie's office, who was the children's director at that time. So it was always fun. And got to know like the different sides and how they operated, and got to then make connections between our staff. So it wasn't just me. It was like, oh, but now you can start reaching out to each other, which was really cool to see. Yeah.
You mentioned the outsiders. And now I'm thinking, I'm like, I want to be Soda Pop. I want to be Soda Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pony Boy, and
there we go. Yeah. Stay gold, Pony Boy.
Squirrels. Squirrels.
I start saying there's a whole generation who's like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. Check. Oh, that was the crew too in that movie.
I was like,
oh my gosh.
Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Ralph
Macchio. Yes.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
So okay, well now we're gonna go a little bit deeper. Okay, and we're thinking 2025. Here we're holy cow, we're 4 months into 2025, right?
Yeah, it's scary.
And so you talked about how you're working on refinement, right? Yeah. So that's one of the things: clarity, alignment, and purpose. Moving forward and refinement. So let's think more now about DMH Way at your facility, because you're here at Central Office.
Yes.
Yeah. So how would you like to see DMH Way, the momentum move forward here at Central Office?
So I like to see the momentum of DMH move forward just by utilizing a lot of those skill sets. I love the fact that we're doing a monthly skill set and really applying those. And one of the things I would like to see is how can we apply that to other departments we work with? So like I utilize some of our skill sets with children's division staff and things of that nature. So my thought is like, how do we spread this beyond just DMH? Like, how do we get this universal?
Yeah, you've got a passion. You like to connect.
I love connections.
Yeah,
that's me. And it's so much fun to see like connections that you didn't realize. Like, as awful as social media is, and it can be really helpful too, depending on. But I've seen like, I'll friend somebody through department, and all of a sudden I'm like, how do you know this person? How do you know this guy I went to college with that's like completely random and out of nowhere? Oh, we went to high school together. So then that starts that whole other connection. And then it's both personal, it's both professional, and it really does help in collaboration and thinking outside the box. Because, I mean, we live in a day and age where you can't do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You have to think something different, and times are changing. To quote Bob Dylan, that song is so relevant every day, and we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So that collaboration really does help generate that thought process and moving forward.
Yeah, and so I love, because that's foundational. We talk about the DMH Way. One of our core tenets is stronger working relationships. So you take that, and not just stronger working relationships here, colleagues, but you're taking it out in the communities and other departments and providers. And you're talking serious connections. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people, like, it starts with just like the first meeting and then it grows from there. I remember the first, we called them professional learning collaboratives. They're now just behavioral health learning collaboratives that the council runs now. But I remember one of our first ones in St. Louis, and we had a behavioral health provider there and a developmental disability provider there, and they just started talking. They were like, well, I have this individual who is hard of hearing and needs help. And BJC is like, well, we have deaf services. We can help train your staff.
Yeah.
And they were like, awesome. And they did that themselves. I brought them together, but they started the conversation. Yeah. They started going, hey, we have this problem. We don't know where to go. And they're like, we have the solution right here. And that's typically what happens is like when you have those connections, you start to see the solutions.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from that is we need to get Governor Kehoe on the phone, tell him to create a director of unity position, and Amber is going to unify all the state entities.
I will try.
Yeah.
That's been one of my biggest goals is like, especially with Children's Office, because we are so, like, we have DMH Children's Office, we have Children's Division, we have Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we have Juvenile Office, we have all of these entities that work with children. And a lot of times we're doing the same thing. So it's like, how do we all get together and start saying, this is the same group of people we're working with? Yeah. How do we plan better? How do we utilize the same resources? Because, I've seen the collaborations and they're fantastic when they do happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. Nice. All right. So Amber, before we let you go, number one, thank you for showing us the behind the scenes of your success with Children's Office. But we have to take you into the Show Me State lightning round. I love this. So we always like to, because there's so much unhealthy division, we like to focus on healthy division, stuff that's going to make people laugh, get people's energy up a little bit. So we want to get your answers. First answer is your best answer. You think long, you think wrong. So
okay.
Here we go. Are you ready?
Sure.
Is it going to be Jack Stack's Barbecue or Emo's Pizza?
Jack Stack.
Thank you. Somebody who finally knows.
Well, it's because you don't have Pappy's as the other barbecue alternative. Then it's like Pappy's, sorry.
Is that also in Kansas City?
No, it's in St. Louis, and I waited an hour and a half to get it. And
Pappy's?
Yeah. Do
tell.
It's the best barbecue ever. Like St. Louis Cardinals stand in line waiting for it.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah.
When I go home, I'm gonna have to find wherever Pappy's is.
So they have one downtown. I haven't tried the one out in the St. Peter's area. They have a little store there, but the one downtown was the one I stood in line, and they brought water out to us because it was like 90 degrees outside, and we were like, "Yep, we're waiting for this because it's that good."
Okay, I might have to change this question so I never have to talk about emos again.
I started saying, "I'm not
killing me, Dyson. That is the place." Emos.
So Cassano's Pizza for me.
Okay.
But I grew up in Hannibal.
If you don't know about Cassano's is incredible.
Cassano's is like
Yeah.
It tops emos.
It's just
Okay.
It's
just so good.
I'm gonna have to check that out
Yeah.
next time we go to Hannibal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cassano's.
Okay. All right, next one. St. Louis Zoo or Kansas City Aquarium?
St. Louis Zoo because I've never been to the aquarium.
Yeah, I've never been.
I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. I think it's one of their big things in Kansas City, but I've never been there long enough to check it out.
I've been to the Kansas City Zoo, and that was nice. But
okay.
It's a preserve, so it's different than the St. Louis one.
Animals walk up to you.
You pretty much.
Okay, nice.
It's kind of scary in some situations. We went into the birdhouse and didn't expect birds to fly by my head.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you mean live?
Yeah. Cool. All right, next one. Branson or Lake of the Ozarks?
So I do Branson because my husband grew up at the lake, and so we tend not to go there that often.
Overkill?
Yeah, just a bit much. He's like, yeah, I know everything and everybody, so no.
Gotcha.
So where's the place to be in Branson?
Probably for me, I have childhood memories of Silver Dollar City, so like the blowing of class and all the trades. I love going through that. And the food's awesome.
Time traveler?
Oh, time travel. Yes.
That messed me up for 3 hours after I rode that thing.
Fire in a Hole was always like my favorite one.
Oh man, I gotta check that one out.
You're in a roller coaster in the dark,
Mm.
and all of a sudden somebody screams "fire in a hole" and you go down a very big hill
Nice.
in the tunnel, and you can't see anything.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, the end is really where it gets you.
I might have to leave my 9-year-old behind for that one.
Oh yeah,
And eat your giant turkey leg after you do that, not before you do that. Right?
Not before.
Yeah. Okay. Baseball wise, Cardinals or Royals?
So Cardinals, but that's because I've never been to a Royals game.
Okay.
Sorry, Royals.
Sorry. I've only ever went to a Cardinals game.
Yes. Go Cards. All right. Sandwich wise, Panera or McAllister's?
Bread Co.
Mm.
So Panera. So it was Bread Co. when I was what I've known.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was from Chicago before I came to college, and so people would say St. Louis Bread Co. I'm like, what?
Where's that? It's like Panera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you're in Atlanta, it was Atlanta Bread Company.
Oh, I never knew.
Yes.
Cool. All right, here we go. Mark Twain or T.S. Eliot?
We had this discussion
We
beforehand.
did.
I was like, T.S. Eliot, only because Mark Twain, I grew up in Hannibal, so I have an aversion to Mark Twain.
Too much Twain.
Too much Twain.
Twained out.
I've been twained out
Yeah.
since 8. Like, I can tell you how, I can't remember now, mostly because I think I repressed it, but the number of lighthouse steps up to the lighthouse, how the cave came to be, all of that fun tourism stuff that we had to learn.
Nice. All right, last one. Disney or Universal Studios?
Universal Studios, but that's because they have the new Harry Potter and Super Mario Brothers and all of those new parks opening up next month. So
yes,
I've told my husband we may have just him and I trip, and the 3-year-old can stay at home with grandparents.
It sounded like you already had something planned.
Yeah, I'm
like
just
you're right there.
Those sound like fun things for us to do.
absolutely.
And she won't remember it. So
Yeah.
True.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to go to both of those attractions. So yeah.
Well, and I've done Disney World and Universal Studios. When I was 14, we did 7 parks in 8 days.
Oh my.
Yes.
That sounds
busy.
exhausting.
Yes, it was exhausting. I don't remember certain parks because they were kind of a blur.
Yeah.
There was a lot of walking.
Whole family's in the little hover round by the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Hanging off.
There was one park, I think it was Animal Kingdom, that's like 26 miles around. And my uncle swore my mother walked us around it twice because she wanted to see everything.
Oh, cow.
She's 26 miles of the marathon. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. At the end of it, it was just like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
No more Mickey. We went during 4th of July too. However, Bess ruined me on every single 4th of July fireworks show ever.
They do the fireworks every night. And
it's amazing. And it's from every park.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
we were at Magic Kingdom, so we got to see all the fireworks around us.
Nice.
Which, again, has ruined me on fireworks. I come, 4th of July here at Jeff City. I'm like, oh, it's nice. But Disney World
is that it?
Disney World has got it down.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They do. Awesome. Well, Amber, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Chat GCG.
Awesome.
We truly appreciate your contribution to DMH and just joining us today. So definitely stick with us. And hopefully, if you haven't yet, check out the Growing Healthy Communities podcast as well. So, Rod, you got anything else?
You're awesome. I got to go through Leadership Academy with Amber, and it was just an incredible experience to learn and listen from Amber and hear her passion. Hopefully it spreads like wildfire across DMH.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't capstone together, did you?
We didn't.
We
We were in
weren't.
different groups, but our whole Leadership Academy was just awesome.
Yeah.
We had a great class.
Completely agree.
I think we'll probably do multiple reunions.
I hope so.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
great.
think it's like, we'll do a 5-year and a 10-year.
Where are they now?
Where are you now?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Yep.
Yeah, Leadership Academy. I'm telling you, another plug. If you haven't gone, go to Leadership Academy, sign up. It is a great experience. You meet people that you wouldn't know. You get a great project to work on, and you get to hear from DMH's leaders. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very cool.
3x3 in the Leadership Academy.
There you go.
All right. All right. So catch y'all next time. See you on the next episode. Chat GCG, a DMH Way podcast. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Scan the QR code for the DMH Way website.